Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Bev Try Thinking, 10th Man, Righteous Force, Brian, Chocolate Saying, Paul Hall, and I think that's about it, along with a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Hey Nathan, hey everybody.
Hello. Not sure if anybody in Discord's off mute.
Hello.
Arwin's joined with good timing, so I can say hello to him while I hustle everybody else off mute in the Discord server. Hello, Arwin.
Hey Nathan.
How's it going?
Yeah, doing great. Your premiere was interesting from yesterday. The cutout piece. The go-overs are getting crazier and crazier, and they seem to get very desperate and triggered now, yet unable to step away for some mysterious reason. You know?
Right on. I wasn't going to trim that out. It was Anthony's suggestion, Sleeping Warrior, for those who are unaware. So he suggested that I trim that out when he was watching it, and I was like, fine, yeah, I've got no issue with trimming that particular part out if that's what you want. So I don't know how it'll go over.
I thought it was good. I listened to it a while back. I thought it was good. It was funny.
Congratulations on yesterday's show. That's a top 10.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Oh, God. I
Especially
wasn't
the
expecting
ending.
that. I was a bit, like I say, I was a bit umming and ahhing when I was doing it. I was like, is this going to go over? And you're saying, best show ever. Well, not exactly, but you know what I mean. Fair enough.
Top 10.
All right.
What was good about it was that the co-show showed that he was lying, and then he wouldn't admit to being lying. Then he had a problem with the fact he was wrong. On top of all that, and then when you used the word fluid or liquid instead of fluid, you mixed up the two words, as happens sometimes with you with them words, and we all have those things that we mix up. One word with the other, and it's just a mental thing. It happens. But when you did that, you didn't get all messed up about it. You started laughing about it. So you were able to show that you were able to accept when you made a mistake or something, you did something wrong. But Kosho wasn't able to show it when he made a mistake and he was wrong. He was just bad humoured after and belligerent. So
I cringe. I'm surprised. That's how it's one of those things they think, should I edit that out? I look really stupid. It's just because of lack of sleep. I blame the same thing last time, but it's true. I understand that there's a very distinct difference between gas and liquid, but when you're in the middle of a heated debate and you're talking about fluid, cognitively, fluid and liquid are similar in terms of your vocab, in terms of how you'll use them in common terminology. So it's easy to mix the two up. But when you're talking about the subject, you've got to be really hyper-specific. And when you're saying gas isn't a liquid, because it's arbitrarily termed together with gases as fluids, it doesn't change the fact that the argument revolves around hydrostatic equilibrium, requiring two very specific, detailed things. One, it's static. Two, it's basically like a liquid. It's bonded together. It's not, because it's still a gas, but it's under such high pressure that it's got no compressibility. You can't force it together any further. Well, if you work under the assumption that a gas which is absolutely compressible is incompressible, then you can arbitrarily describe it in this way with hydrostatic equilibrium. But ultimately, gases do not behave like liquids. Now, upon that description, I've had a lot more sleep today. I'm saying gases don't behave like fluids. And I've just used the wrong word in that one moment. So embarrassing, but I hadn't sort of thought about it in that way. So yeah, you're right. I make a mistake and just go, yeah, okay, I'm wrong. I'm an idiot. Let me correct myself. He won't. He rumpuses. Uses it as an opportunity.
You own it.
Yeah, it shows humility.
You own it.
Well, it's not the first time. I've messed that up on about half a dozen occasions, and afterwards I read the comments back, and I can see Brian in there going, "Yeah, you mean liquid?" It's like, shit, I've done it again.
You know what was easy? Because everyone has that problem. Because when I first started thinking of gas as a fluid, I found it difficult as well. But what made it easy was the definition I used. Although QE says it's not 100% correct, the definition that I've seen on Google and a few other places, now QE will correct me, is that gases and fluids, or gases, there I go again, I go with it, gases and liquids would both fill any shape of a container. So that made it easy to make them both fluids. But when it's a natural thing, when you think about the word fluid, you're thinking of a liquid. It's just a natural thing because gases don't.
Right. Well, is a fluid even a thing, a state, or is that just a misinterpretation because of the general
it's
use?
Definitely no. Well,
I don't think it's just gases and liquids are fluid. They are not a fluid. They are fluid. I think it should be more like that.
You're missing out when you're saying the use of the word, like when people tell you, oh, make sure you drink plenty of fluids, right? They're not telling you drink plenty of gases, right?
That's why my confusion.
Right.
But just to answer Arwin, so it's two parts. No, it's not a state. Absolutely not. So there's a very big, massive difference between gas and liquid. Liquid is bonded. Gas is unbonded. So they're fundamentally different. Now, they're arbitrarily classified together as fluids. And in that particular circumstance, they just use that as their little playground to try and describe gas behaviour as though it's liquid behaviour. And it's not. Just because they can arbitrarily classify them the same, and they have certain circumstances where they can create things like hydrostatic equilibrium with gas under high pressure to the point where it is no longer compressible, or use the definition out of context and say if we consider gas as though it's incompressible, we can start qualifying it with terms we use arbitrarily. Now, the whole thing's fallacious. Gas is not liquid. Fundamentally different.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Can I make a statement?
Go
I
ahead.
haven't said much. I said this on Discord yesterday on Skype, but to even have have a gas to act like a fluid has to be under pressure. So how do you have gas pressure without a container? So no matter what, you still got to have gas pressure.
Exactly. This is another address to a delta of the question in the first instance. So this whole debate with Kosho started with him being obliterated by Witsit Gets It. Big shout out to you, my friend. So he's offered up gas pressure without a container by showing a container. That's his opening gambit. Because the whole reason for the discussion is because it's a violation of second law of thermodynamics to assert that we have outer space. Outer space is fake, for anybody who's listening and didn't realise. You can't have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon. If it's asserted that the sky is a vacuum, the gas we're breathing would fill that space instantaneously. So what they want to address as a consequence of that is fluid, and describe gas as though it's bonded and being held here. It's not. It's unbonded and free to expand to fill the volume it has to fill. That is entropy. So their sky vacuum outer space is a violation of natural law, so they have to equivocate. They have to give it extra terms that don't apply, describe it like a fluid. When in reality, gas behaviour is always going to be gas behaviour. It will expand to fill the volume available. If outer space is an available volume, the gas will fill the space. It doesn't, therefore the sky vacuum doesn't exist. It's not real. That's a big problem for your fundy belief in a sky vacuum. You don't have one. And that's a big problem if every photo ever taken of your claim of a sphere Earth is taken from a place that doesn't exist, because it defies natural law. If it existed, we wouldn't be breathing. So yeah, they equivocate, they use false analogies, false equivalence, fallacy, and describe gas as though it's a liquid. It isn't. It doesn't have bonds. The fact that you can take gas and push it into a circumstance where it's got no gaps between it, it's totally uncompressible, still unbonded technically speaking, but so close together that it starts to behave like liquid, doesn't mean that the gas we're breathing behaves like liquid. It doesn't. It's just moving at high speed, unbonded, and the circumstances required to have hydrostatic equilibrium would be A, it's got to be static, and B, it's got to be incompressible, neither of which apply to gas.
Done.
Sky is not a vacuum, folks. They've all lied to you. The people who definitely are lying are NASA, or any other space agency that claims to be operating in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum known as outer space. Outer space is fake, as are all pictures and claims of anything taking place there. See, pictures of Earth from space? Yeah, they're all lies. Space is fake. You can't take pictures from a place that isn't real.
Before we move on to this, before we move on from this point, I want to give a shout out to Brian. Just in yesterday's show, when it started to basically become like a herd of cats, like trying to herd cats, everybody started talking at once. Brian chimed in and brought it right back on topic, and basically, then Kosho felt like he had to interrupt it, obviously. But so yeah, Kosho, yeah, in the end, obviously got annihilated by Huey, and then also he spent all last night in the 24/7 Discord getting his ass kicked by Wits It Gets It. And everybody
Thank
else,
you.
like 6 hours straight.
Thanks for that.
They're going to
Yeah,
rinse and repeat mode. Oh no, I've been smashed. Quick, go somewhere else and repeat it at nausea.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Straight.
the comments kept pouring in on Nathan's show as a positive show.
Right, go on, chocolate first, and then 10th. Yeah, chocolate.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, yeah, he's doing the rounds because he was back in 24/7 again this morning with his bullshit. Trying to say refraction solves the black swan and talking about how the geometric horizon, you just can't see it. You don't even expect to see it. So, yeah, he's just doing a tour right now, basically, with his nonsense.
Chocolate.
Go ahead,
He wasn't
Tom.
back in there this morning. He was in there all night.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I only got
he
in
was
there
in
a few
there
hours
just
ago.
he was in there just before I started my premiering stream. So I checked in on 24/7 and he was in there talking over everyone, sounding like he's getting smashed. And that was like literally only a couple of hours ago.
Yeah. he was getting smashed by me. And with everybody else that was in there because he's continuing to assert his nonsense of you can't see, you don't expect to see the geometric horizon. Saying that everything is refracted, the horizon that we see is refracted, and somehow we can base actual geometry from that.
We'll come on to that. So Itzik Carmona was in my premiering stream chat and mentioned that Simon Dan had done a response to the Black Swan. Now I regularly search for rebuttals to exactly that and I haven't seen it. So I'm not subscribed to him. To be honest, I ran out of time and didn't get the opportunity to actually go from the premiering stream to setting up this show and look for Simon Dan, although that was in the back of my mind the whole time. Have any of you seen Simon Dan's response to the Black Swan? I already know what it is, but have any of you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it. The first hour of it.
It's the same response. So shout out to Itzik Carmona, subscribe today. He explained that he's just stuck a straw in some water. So he's showing an effect of a transition change, Snell's law, refractive effects. So his argument is the same as all of the rest of them. The horizon is refracted. So if the horizon is refracted, it's not geometric. Now they'll then spew into a description of how what we see is an apparent horizon. At this redundant term, all horizons are apparent. The geometric horizon in the globe model is apparent based on height. It's also obviously apparent because the sky doesn't actually meet the ground. It's the apparent position where the sky meets the ground. That's the definition of a horizon. Therefore, saying the apparent position where the sky meets the ground is completely redundant. But they use this word apparent to give them a second horizon, the one that's refracted, a refracted horizon. So this is a response to who we were just talking about a moment ago before we were talking about Simon Dan. Was it Kosho who's doing the rounds with the same refracted? Go on.
Yeah, Kosho.
Kosho. Oh, I haven't forgotten you, by the way, 10th man. We'll come back to you about the comments. So Simon Dan's response is the same. The horizon we see is refracted. Therefore, it's not the geometric horizon in the model. Well, let's just give him the same response as everybody else has had. Simon Dan. We only have one horizon. The horizon on screen now is that horizon. Now, if you were to assert that that horizon is refracted, it's not geometric. Now, if it's not geometric, it's not the one in your model. And we don't have two horizons. You're yet another idiot in a long stream of idiots that don't realise, by declaration, if the horizon's not geometric, it's game over geometric model. Because your model requires a geometric horizon, and we've only got one. So what you're doing is pounding the C4 fire with a massive hammer, declaring that the horizon we see is not the geometric horizon in your model, in spite of the fact we only have one horizon. Yours is geometric. That's the first problem you have. The second problem you have is if you say, oh no, we do have a geometric horizon, we don't have to see it because it's the light hitting it and refracting into the position we do see it, so we wouldn't expect to see a geometric horizon. The problem you then have is you're describing all the lines to the horizon being bent. Therefore, how are you going to draw a tangent for your geometry? If it's not a geometric horizon, you're not going to be performing geometry on it. And then you go to assert what? That you're going to draw an imaginary line to a second horizon that is geometric but not seen and only exists in your model. So we'll have an imaginary straight line to a horizon that doesn't exist and isn't creating a tangent because you've got a second horizon, not that we have two, behind the first that we don't see doesn't exist, but simultaneously blocks buildings in the distance, has boats going over it, and curves at altitude when you reach the second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum called outer space to take pictures of it. So it's definitely supposed to be the geometric model in your, the geometric horizon in your geometric model, but you're all telling us how it's not the geometric horizon in your model, which is absolutely what you must assert if you're a globehead. So I like that it's Simon Dan that's telling us about his refracted horizon on account of the fact he had the same problem with Coriolis effect. He showed us a demonstration of a tractor pulling a trampoline and a man bouncing and not deviating. Ergo, he requires a geometric horizon like he required deviation. Your model's got Coriolis effect, so we'd need to see some deviation. And your model's got a geometric horizon, so we're going to need to see that in the same way it was claimed to be seen when people told us in feet and inches how much that physical, observable, geometric horizon was blocking things and how much boats were being obscured by it after they'd gone over it. So you definitely require a geometric horizon, Simon Dan. It's marked with an X, labelled horizon in your geometric model. The fact that you're telling us you don't have one, it's refracted, means it's game over geometric Earth curve model. I thank you, Simon Dan. You, like AB Science and Kosho and Rumpus, are telling us just how non-geometric a horizon that's claimed to be physically proven out by its geometry is. So not geometric, not your globe model. Game over globe. Hey, Sleeping Warrior. Good timing.
Nathan, I just wanted to ask you if you're aware. If you do a search online for live flat Earth shows now, you're not in the list.
No, neither was Arwin. Neither was Arwin today. I realised we're not in the subscriptions anymore. I'm glad you've confirmed that. I didn't want to confirm it without checking with a couple of other people. No, that's correct for you also, Arwin. You weren't in the subscriptions feed today for your live show.
And also, it's not got the symbol alongside your name indicating that you're broadcasting right now. Normally, there's like a red dot with like brackets around it saying that you're live now. It's not saying that either in the subscriptions box.
You sure? It could just be because I'm on the second channel today. Have you not realised that I'm streaming on the second channel?
I have, but like I say, it's not showing that you're live.
Okay, just wanted to confirm, because I suspected that was the case when I saw that with Arwin and had to ask him where his live stream feed was, thinking he hadn't published it. He didn't reply, because he's like that, so I went and searched him out to see if he'd actually published it yet, because he typically did. And what do you know? He's got it published in his videos list. If you go to his channel, click on videos, and find that he's got a published live stream ready to start. But it wasn't anywhere to be found unless I searched it out.
Yeah, and you can't criticise Arwin for not responding. You're terrible at responding.
I respond instantly to every single message I get ever.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking for your show when it first started, Nathan, and it's not showing up in my I'm after refreshing my YouTube. It's not showing up on the page itself, just the basic page, and it's not showing up in my notifications or anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be a lot of target audience at the moment that are sat at home on their couches, and obviously it's a bit too prevalent if our information's at the forefront of those bored people's minds when it's a quick cursory search on YouTube for a live show. So yeah, this is not unexpected. It's always been the case since they announced that they were going to censor us, and I've been saying the same exact thing from then till now. Share the show. That's how the show will reach people, because there's no way we're going to get hyped or publicised by the platform that's designed to do just that, because they don't like the subject. Well, we're not doing anything wrong, we're not breaking any terms of service, so share the show. You've got to stick it in your WhatsApp feeds and your Skype feeds and your Facebook feeds and your Twitter feeds, and that's the only way it'll reach people. The numbers on this show are lower than they typically are.
I've just shared it, Nathan.
Good, thank you very much for sharing. It's the most important thing. As much as, yes, obviously, from that it follows that I will hopefully earn a living from being on YouTube, which is, I'll not lie, my primary purpose. I do want to earn a living, shock horror. However, the only reason that actually occurs is because people come and watch the show. And the only reason people come and watch the show is because people are actually sharing it. Now, I bleat and moan constantly when I'm actually in the live chat saying, please, please, please share the show, because it is so critically important. And I go out of my way to share other people's shows and let them know in their chat that I've done so. Because without that, nobody would be watching.
There's people in Master B, Chris Berry and Emma UK, I think it is, saying that they had to go get a link for the show in Discord. That's not showing up anywhere, even after they search for it.
Mad, isn't it?
Looks like you'd be getting a second job, Nathan.
Yeah. Well, I'm fortunate in the respect that I've got a fairly loyal audience. So while it might seem like, oh, no, we're not reaching anybody, I keep such a close tabs on my stats anyway. 75% of the people watching this stream, it's actually higher because this is the second channel that this is going out on live, but if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980, 75% of the people who will watch this video are subscribed. Now, a couple of years ago, before they announced that they were going to, limit the amount of exposure we get on this platform, there was a case where I was contacting my subscribers by way of video and saying, look, more than half of you aren't subscribed. In other words, most of you are coming not subscribing, and there's plenty of people and plenty of traffic from other means. Now it's just not the case. 3/4 of the people that are watching because they're already subscribed. And if they weren't, they wouldn't be watching at all. Or there's a very slim chance that they'd be watching. Now it's just going to be solely that 75%. Maybe my subscribed versus non-subscribed watcher will turn from 75 to 100%. In other words, it's purely the people that are actually here and want to watch the show and go out of their way to look for it or share it to others who may be interested. That's the only way I'll get growth. But currently, as it stands, I watch my stats closely, and where those things happen, I react to them by working a bit harder or scheduling a bit better or working within the exact guidelines that YouTube and all the people who promote YouTube and how to be successful suggest that you should run a platform. And that's how I do things. I'd like to think I'm fairly slick and fairly well educated in how YouTube want things, and I do them precisely that way. And as a result, I've got a very loyal subscriber base, but it doesn't help me in terms of the algorithm. But I thank my subscribers, from the bottom of my heart. If it wasn't for them, this show wouldn't have got as far as it is, and you've got to constantly react to things like that. but I've dealt with worse. There was a time when all 4 of my channels were effectively shut down, and I had no control over them. That was only 2 Christmases ago. So I've definitely dealt with worse. But there we go. Please share the show. That's the only thing I can say in reaction, Anthony.
So, did you finish housekeeping?
Didn't even do it.
Oh.
If there's a subject that
All
comes
right,
up,
though, because I think our house is pretty clean. We don't have any geometric horizons running around, no Coriolis running around, no gas pressure without a container. I think the house is pretty clean.
I've got to give a shout out to Roxanne, the globalist. She's putting the hours in at the minute, doing loads of live streaming on this topic of the corona flu. If you haven't checked her out, go and check her out. She's doing lots of conversations about lots of people across different parts of the plane. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's getting nice and weird, isn't it?
Yeah. It's definitely not to do with the flu, is it? It's definitely to do with other things.
I completely forgot to shout her out. I don't know why. I did watch Roxanne's stream. Like the last 2 days was pretty good. Forgot.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a perfect example. I had no idea who Roxanne was until Anthony shared her material with me. And he shared it with me and was saying, people don't know who she is. And I was like, I didn't know who she was. And she's somebody who is making material, good material, about this subject, absolutely right up my street. I had no idea who she was. She wasn't being shared with me. She wasn't being promoted to me. She's literally in the same arena as me. Now, bearing in mind that one of the things they suggest as a YouTuber you should do is collaborate with people in the same area as you. And typically, if you're watching a car video, another typical car reviewer will be listed next to them in the suggested fields. But for me, even when I'm watching and monitoring my own streams, the suggested videos weren't her. And it's probably the same vice versa, unless you subscribe to me. Yeah, I see people sharing their screen and they're subscribed and they've got me in their suggested videos. But for anybody who's not subscribed, me to Roxanne or vice versa, she's not going to presumably know about me. Maybe she did. Maybe my videos are cluttering at hers for her subscription feeds. But I didn't find out who she was until Anthony, Sleeping Warrior, shared her with me. Shared her material.
Just in case you're not aware, guys, I've just uploaded a video about Coriolis and the lack of Earth turn. Basically, if planes are in the air longer than bullets, and bullets don't have enough time in the air for it to demonstrate enough Earth turn, then planes have got to, right? Well, if they're flying east or west and they're going faster or slower, then Earth might be turning, but the flight times are all the same. Well, if the flight times are the same, the distance traversed must be different if you're on a sphere. Doesn't happen though, does it? So I've challenged the Rumpus to demonstrate using any aid he wants, be it a diagram or a picture or an animation or whatever. Demonstrate it both ways. Show why it is planes, when they travel east and west, have the same duration of flight, but traverse the same distance too. And it can't happen on a sphere. If the Earth's turning, the distance is faster one way or shorter one way than it is the other. So the flight times must be different, and they're not. They're the same.
To be honest, 9 times out of 10, especially when we're talking about something like New York to LA, I've had flights where usually it's faster. It's faster going from west to east than from east to west. Which doesn't make any sense. Which doesn't make any sense if the Earth is supposed to be spinning underneath. Right?
Do you know the maths? Because Quantum Erase has done this with a qualified example based on the claimed rate of turn that you would have if you had a Coriolis effect in effect on Earth. So if you've got a flight travelling from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA and the Earth is turning underneath, then the flight time would be 1.5 hours based on the speed at that latitude. However, the flight is about 4 to 4.5 hours in both directions. So there is no Earth turn. Just conclude it. So there is no Earth turning underneath. Flight times are not reduced.
Nope.
Bob Nodell, actually, you know the way the Globers are always saying that he proved Earth turn. Well, the same gyroscope that he supposedly saw, him or whoever saw 15 degree an hour drifting, As we all know, this is an old thing that they use them in airplanes, and the Earth is not turning under the airplanes. So, in a way, Bob Nodell proved that the Earth is not turning. You know what I mean? And although it's not proof, but the ballers are always saying that it's proof that he proved the Earth to be turning. But the airplane isn't.
No. He didn't disprove it was turning. It's the logic that's used to assert that it is that falls apart. So it's a formal logical fallacy called affirming the consequent. If the Earth is turning, then we will observe a deviation in a gyroscope or pendulum. We observe deviation in the gyroscope, therefore the Earth is turning. Well, that's affirming the consequent. The one doesn't necessarily follow the other. The way it's broken down, and it was broken down by me, after being given a very concise logical consistency argument from Quantum Eraser, which I was educated in, understood, and then went and challenged him on, was to say that if the gyroscope demonstrates a deviation because Earth rotates underneath, now I'm going to stop this explanation of the logic to explain the assertion of the gyroscope. So the gyroscope is a demonstration of Coriolis effect. You have two reference frames. The reference frame that the gyro spins in, and it's not going to move from that. That's the whole point of a gyroscope. It's just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning in one reference frame, not deviating. The cradle it sits in, which is attached to, claimed to be, an Earth that spins underneath the inertial reference frame, which is what the gyro is spinning in. Because you have a non-inertial, spinning, turning reference frame underneath, the gyro demonstrates a deviation. That is the claim. And that claim was claimed to be proven by Bob Nodell. It wasn't actually his gyro. It's not the point. He was the one on TV saying, yes, this is how it works. If we see this deviation, then Earth must be turning underneath. No, that's a formal logical fallacy. Anyway, I get to my point. That's a demonstration of Coriolis effect. It's supposed to, or claimed to, demonstrate Earth turning underneath the fixed frame of the gyro in the inertial reference frame. Well, if you are leaving the non-inertial spinning reference frame, like a bullet or a ball, as claimed by Neil deGrasse Tyson, then once the ball leaves the non-inertial spinning reference frame of a spinning Earth, then Earth turns underneath the ball, Earth turns underneath the bullet, Earth turns underneath the gyroscope, Earth turns underneath the pendulum. So they're demonstrations of Coriolis effect. Earth turning underneath. And if Earth turns underneath a bullet, ball, gyroscope or pendulum, then it also rotates underneath, long list, planes, actually turns underneath balls that you actually throw, helicopters, drones, anything if you jump up and down, anything that leaves the non-inertial spinning reference frame would have the Earth turn underneath. And your flight from Charlotte, North Carolina, that takes 4 to 4.5 hours when it's travelling towards LA, would take 1.5 hours because Earth's turning underneath, like it's claimed to do under the gyro at 15 degrees an hour. So if you've got Coriolis effect, this is where you can formulate it into modus tollens, you must have deviation underneath a plane. The Earth must turn, not deviation, underneath a plane. Earth does not turn under a plane, therefore you don't have Coriolis effect. And Coriolis effect is the claim proof Earth spins. So back to Simon Dan. Their response to this is to demonstrate why it doesn't deviate. Enter Simon Dan with a man bouncing up and down while being pulled by a tractor, and he goes, look, no deviation. You're like, you complete idiot. You're supposed to be claiming Earth does have a demonstrable Coriolis deviation from the ground if you're watching something leave the non-inertial spinning reference frame, like the man on the trampoline. So that, if it's supposed to be analogous to a proof of Earth spin, should show deviation. But they're so stupid as they think they need to then justify why there isn't deviation, with stupidity like the assertion that the Earth and atmosphere travel as one. Again, by using the analogy we started with when detailing Kosho and his pathetic attempt to use a false equivalence fallacy to describe gas behaviour, unbonded, freely moving in all directions, most importantly unbonded, not attached. Well, they describe the atmosphere like it's attached, travelling along with the spinning Earth, and therefore you don't see deviation. It's like the whole point of Coriolis effect is to prove you do see deviation. The gyroscope's showing you do, according to your claim that the gyro shows 15 degree an hour turn of the Earth underneath it. Well, if it turns under a gyro, it turns under a drone. It turns under a plane. And you have reduced flight times when you're travelling west. You don't, because Earth isn't turning. That doesn't mean you fundies have suddenly got to justify why you don't see deviation like Simon Dan did, complete idiots. Same as they're doing now with the horizon, justify why it's not geometric. Complete boneheads, the lot of them.
Yeah, it's a handy little modus tollens. It's if the Earth is turning underneath the fiber optic gyroscope P, then it's also will be turning underneath the airplane Q. It's not turning underneath the airplane Q, so it's not turning underneath the fiber optic gyroscope P.
Exactly. That was much more concise than mine. Perfect.
Thanks.
Well, I would start it with a slightly different part, though. If the gyroscope is claimed to prove Earth is turning underneath, then you'll experience the turn of the Earth underneath a plane. You do not experience the turn of the Earth underneath a plane. Therefore, the gyroscope does not prove that Earth is turning.
Yep, that's better again.
Boom! Take that, you fundies. Cry it out later.
Yeah, I actually said it to a guy. I can't remember who it was. Someone in one of the comment section. I think it was underneath one of your videos. And the other day they were throwing out this whole Bob Nodell proved out rotation kind of stuff. And I said that to him. But if it doesn't rotate underneath the airplane that the gyroscope is in, then it's not rotating underneath the gyroscope. And that was the end of that. A lot of rubbish comments afterwards. But that was the end of the argument.
I'm actually hearing the Globers changing the rhetoric. They're saying that it's not rotating underneath an airplane, but the centrifugal force is causing the objects to be lighter or heavier according to the direction of the spin.
Yeah, the fiber optic gyroscope works off a light.
Hold on.
Sorry, Nathan. Yeah.
I was just going to say, that doesn't matter, because their claim is that we experience Coriolis effect.
The fiber optic gyroscope is working off a light. So what I've said to them online several times in comment sections is, well, what light do we know moves around us at around 15 degrees an hour? The sun. So although there's no proof that it's the sun that's causing this 15 degree an hour drift, but there's definitely no proof it's the Earth. At least there's some correlation with the sun. There's no correlation with the Earth.
Right. Well, if it's proving Earth turn, it's using Coriolis to do it. We don't have Coriolis, so it's not proving Earth turn. So 10th man's been on standby for quite some considerable time now. Are you there, 10th man?
I am here.
Brilliant. You were talking about a string of comments underneath. I won't lead you. I think you already know what you were going to talk about.
Well, I don't know if it's going to work, but I was going to do a very a funny pun based on gases and liquids, behavior. So I think the moment has passed, but I'll give it a try if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
We can have a throwback. Right. Why not?
So here we go back. Let's go back to that topic of gases and liquids and their behavior. So meanwhile, Nathan, yesterday's show was so good. All the comments are acting like fluids. They are pouring in, and they are very impressible.
That's terrible.
It
was well worth it.
Like I said, the moment passed, but that was it.
Not too bad though for 15 minutes later.
It's because I picked the wrong person, so I typically, I try and vaguely keep it fair. So if there's two people that definitely start at the same time, sometimes I'll say 10th man, sometimes I'll say chocolate. In that instance, I just picked chocolate, whereas the pun needed to be the one, it needed to be there and then, right? I said, go ahead, chocolate, ruining your pun. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry, but I did want to throw something else in, going back to the planes and flight time variations. Real quick, I decided to just look up real quick, just doing a random flight well, not too random because I've done it before, from JFK to Phoenix, well, New York to Arizona, east to west, and that that flight on this particular airline, one way, nonstop, would be 5 hours 46 minutes, and the return flight from Phoenix to JFK back west to east would be 4 hours 45 minutes. So the flight is longer in the direction going towards the direction that the Earth should be spinning against. And it's wrong. Because if the Earth was spinning towards the east and you're flying over it, um, LA should show up or Phoenix should show up a lot faster, but it doesn't. It's actually longer the other way. So how does that work with a Coriolis effect?
I think some people say it's a jet stream.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
All right.
Jet stream.
All right, so then there would not be a Coriolis effect then.
No.
There you go.
They've admitted to using the jet stream chocolate. They've admitted. Jaron Campanella brought something out there some while back, where American Airlines admitted that they used the jet stream to make flights shorter, going in one. It would be going east to west. Yeah, I think it was that's the direction the jet stream moves. I think over the US. I don't. It's not verbatim. Like I don't have all the facts, but they definitely have admitted. American Airlines have admitted to using the jet stream to speed up, take an hour and a half off of a flight.
Yeah, I've had pilots tell me that. Pilots tell me, oh, it has nothing to do with the spin. It's just jet stream. It just works that way. It's like, okay, because I wasn't even a flat earther at the time, but I was thinking like, why does it take longer that way? Going back home, going back east. That didn't really make any sense to me. Not even thinking of it in respect to the turn of the Earth. So I just wanted to throw that in. And that was just a random flight I just put in.
Haven't you heard Zanuck argue about the plane being lighter and heavier going east to west? Have you not heard him argue that?
Also,
the
jet streams
plane
go
being lighter or heavier.
jet streams go west to east.
Yeah.
Well, he said in the
centrifugal
So
force
they go
of the
ahead of
spin.
the spin of the Earth.
Is it always righteous? Is it always west to east? They always go west to east. Yeah.
Well, I brought it up. I guess I can screen share and we can take a peek.
Nice.
Oh wait, I gotta extend this. There we go. All right, so here's my screen. I got some pictures up. So west to east, and that's also the direction the Earth turns. So the jet streams overtake the spin of the Earth, and it seems like it's always like that, I guess.
The jet streams overtake the spin of the Earth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the surface winds themselves completely debunk the notion that you've got air and atmosphere travelling as one. It's like, no, you've got independent surface winds.
So yeah, that's that.
But that's an attempt to debunk the Simon-Dan approach, justify why you don't have deviation when the whole proof of an Earth spinning is Coriolis deviation. So, yeah, whistling past the graveyard when you're into this argument, if you ask me. No offence. So, in the last 40 minutes, we've inadvertently covered all of the housekeeping questions, if I'm not mistaken, with a couple of exceptions. So, I'm just going to ask those. Any evidence of any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, Danny Falconer can't.
Ooh.
No, Danny Falconer can't even write a book about gravity and debunking claims of the flat earthers, let alone do a scientific experiment. He doesn't have any valid hypothesis.
Was Danny Faulkner the guy who declared on a radio show that people who thought the Earth were flat and said that they couldn't debunk it had just done cursory Google searches and they hadn't found their way to him, And then when challenged
Yes.
by Nathan Thompson in an auditorium at a Flat Earth conference on how you can have gas pressure without a container, following his stony silence, went and did a cursory Google search, found his way to Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, and his assertion that you can have gas pressure without a container by demonstrating 2 containers. Is that the same guy?
Yes, indeed it was.
Can you imagine if we made a claim like that and it didn't turn out to be true? We would have like 50 million troll accounts from 2 or 3 different people making it look like everybody hates us, but they don't do that to Ball Earthers. I wonder why that might be.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nah, it's silly.
My lad had to do that yesterday in his own work, because they're off school now. So yeah, he did that yesterday. What are the 4 layers of the Earth called?
What are they? The
Crust
mantle, the...
crust, mantle, inner core, outer core.
Is that it?
Yeah. Mm.
It's true, because they made it up themselves. Any evidence of that nonsense?
It was just wrote in the book, read the passage, answer the question. That was literally it. It said it in the passage, and they were even highlighted and blown up, so you couldn't miss them.
Well, you need several things to make that happen.
That's all
on
the
the
evidence
outside.
there is.
You need,
Hold
you
on
need
one second,
radius.
Brian. Just one sec.
You need radius drop.
Hold on one
curvature.
second. Who's that in Discord? Go ahead.
I was just saying that's all the evidence there is. What's in the textbooks in those silly pictures?
Right on. Go ahead. Hold on, Chocolate. Hold on. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just saying that they need, before they even go into the centre of the supposed Earth, they need to have drop, curvature, radius, and out rotation all proven. They need all them things before they could even talk about happening on the inside.
Sure. I mean,
Or they might want to reach at least 8.5 miles. They haven't even gotten to the full 8 before they start telling us what's going on 2, 3, 4,000 miles down. Like, come on, man. It's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the 3959. So have they got any evidence of the R value? That was the only other housekeeping we didn't actually cover.
Yeah, we covered that every time we say geometric horizon, which they don't have in their model, which debunks their radius. So, yeah, we kind of covered it, but yeah, there's no evidence of a radius of 3959.
I kind of get it. It's the other way around. It's a bit squirrely, but I know what you're saying. It's the R value that gives them the geometric horizon. So by covering the geometric horizon, we're saying, look, this is necessitated by the R value. That's where that X is marked in the geometric model. It's labelled horizon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see what you're saying. But yeah, we hadn't specifically covered it. But like everything else, we've covered sort of just in general discussion. So we covered obviously the second law of thermodynamics violation that is the sky vacuum called outer space. That got extensively covered. You know, how you can have gas pressure without a container. Well, you can't. Outer space is fake.
Even re-debunked hydrostatic equilibrium in the middle of that too. So
yeah, see my video, hydrostatic equilibrium versus gas law. What else did we cover? We definitely covered the black swan. So we covered Earth curvature in all its guises. Physical geometry.
Or the lack thereof.
Yeah, the lack thereof. But we're being told, constantly affirmed by the idiots that challenge us on this subject, that don't realise just how many flamethrowers there are in all of these corridors that are associated with the black swan. They tell us just how non-geometric the horizon is. They say it's refracted. So definitely not geometric, because obviously if you've got all bent lines, you're not going to be drawing a tangent to anything. That's why you'd call it an apparent horizon, even though all horizons are, by definition, the apparent position where the sky meets the ground. It doesn't actually meet the ground, that's why it's apparent. But they'll use it to give them a second horizon, the one we see, the refracted one, and then a second horizon that they'll draw an imaginary tangent line to, even though it's not tangent to anything because there's a second horizon above it. It's just like, well, no, we don't see that horizon and we haven't got any straight lines anymore, other than the imaginary ones in your model to the geometric horizon we don't see. But you tell us all again how it's refracted, when it's supposed to be geometric and obstructing things in the difference and qualified with a feet and inches value of how much is obscured by its physicality, that you're telling us with a hand wave, we never see the geometric horizon. Except when it's blocking things and boats are going over it and it's curving at altitude to bend into a sphere in a second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum. Other than that, we never see the geometric horizon.
Falls apart on itself, doesn't it, Nathan?
It's brilliant. When do you think they'll realise that asserting that it's refracted kills their geometry? When will they figure that out, do you think? So far, we've got Simon Dan, we've got AB Science, we've got Kosho, we've got Rumpus, we've got Brenda. Who else do you think will pile in? Ruhif. Who else will pile in to essentially destroy their own model by declaring they can't perform geometry? Oh, it's definitely not geometric. We don't see that. You'd have to suck out all the atmosphere to actually be able to draw a straight line tangent and perform geometry. So what we've been doing is we do it like this, with this imaginary one. So what? With the second horizon we don't see, you draw an imaginary line on a side-on model that doesn't have perspective in it to an imaginary position that you're saying doesn't exist to tell us that we're on a sphere with a horizon that blocks things and does exist. Wow, that's completely untenable as an argument. You can't tell me just how non-geometric it is when you're drawing a position that's a secondary position to a thing that's described very specifically as being singular, the horizon, and then tell me that gives you the proof that the horizon's physical? It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense anymore.
Nathan, the horizon is defined as the place where the sky and the land appear to meet, right? That would suggest being able to see it, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't appear to be anything.
Yeah,
right?
Like on screen now, right? So, just so I can clarify what you've just said, I'll let you continue. These trees, for instance, yeah? We've got a local topographical horizon. This isn't the geometric horizon. It's reasonable to assume that trees can obscure your view, or your hand could obscure your view. And it appears to be meeting these clouds in the sky. Now, obviously, it's not actually meeting the clouds. It's just apparent. That's what a horizon is. The apparent position where the sky meets the ground. So to say that it's actually, no, the one we're seeing here is an apparent position where the sky meets the ground. We've got a second one we don't see that's geometric in our model, and we're going to draw an imaginary line to it, and then say once we've drawn that imaginary line becomes physical and is actually blocking things. So long as the weather's right.
Hey, Nathan.
Right.
Oh, hold on, Owen. Chocolate, go ahead.
So, if they're describing something that we can't see, and the horizon is literally defined as something that we do see, is the geometric horizon a horizon?
No. The geometric horizon, when they're qualifying it in their model, is an imaginary, conceptual idea that you can utilise to look at something that's a not actual location, an apparent position, and take what they call geometric consideration. In other words, you can think of it as being real, and then on a given day it might correlate with their bullshit model. But it doesn't mean that the geometric horizon in their model is actually real, and they're all telling us just how non-geometric the horizon is. It's refracted, according to them. So definitely not the geometric horizon in their model. It's supposed to represent reality. It's what they used to tell us, confirmed that we were on a sphere, by showing us just how physical and geometric that horizon was when it blocks stuff. But now they're telling us that it's not real. So no, it's not.
That's pretty funny. So maybe we shouldn't even call it the geometric horizon. It should be like the geometric thingy or something.
But it's the bullshit imaginary horizon if you're a fundy globehead. It's the bullshit imaginary horizon if you're a globy fund head. Or globy fund head? Fundy globehead.
No, but it's the sphere edge, remember? It's their sphere edge.
Yep.
Well, I think Bev said it early in the pre-show that they can't use logic anymore, and because of that, to your question, Nathan, when will they get this? Well, if they don't use logic, which they're not, and they want to reify the model into reality when all reality says the model is wrong, the model is not matching reality, there's never going to be a time that they're going to see this.
Of course.
Self-induced,
I see
they're
Wiggles in
self-inducing.
chat. Wiggles, why don't you come in here and talk to us about the Black Swan? Wiggles, it's been a while. How you been, man?
Can I make a small statement first, or rather, like a question?
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
You've got
if
60.
an
You've got 60
apparent-
seconds.
what?
Got 60 seconds.
Okay, so if an apparent horizon means that it's an apparent location, does that basically mean that it only appears to be apparent and thus must be actual, according to that logic?
Are you saying it's a double negative? I see what you're saying. Well, to find out more about that and potentially speak to Wiggles, then stay tuned if you are watching on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley channel, this is where we bid you farewell. If you are watching on Nathan Oakley 1980 and you did want to watch this show live yesterday, Friday, then you need to be subscribed to the Nathan Oakley channel. There is a link in the info box below this video. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making this live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!